So this is my King Vegeta Nappa burn deck. One copy of the leader. 4 Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta at full power. 4 Super Saiyan God Vegeta to the next level. 4 Vegeta the Young Invader. 4 SS Vegeta Exploiting Weakness. 4 Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku. 4 Super Saiyan 3 Nappa. 4 Virtuous Strength Gohan. 4 Hidden Power East Pain Kai. 4 Testing Opposition. 4 Violent Rays. 4 Piccolo Jr., Descendant of the King Unison. 4 Lord Slug Giant Force Unison. 4 Jiren, Legend of Universe 11 Unison. And 1 copy of Young Invaders. So this is the 53 card deck. Nothing wrong with having it this big because of the fact that right off the bat, once you play the leader, you automatically get Young Invaders. That brings you down to 52 cards. Then, with Young Invaders effect, taking out one Vegeta, for example, that'll bring you down to 51. And eventually you'll play another one, so that brings you down to 50. Not to mention the fact that you draw 6 cards, your opening hand, and 8 cards in your life. So, you'll definitely get your deck less than 50 real quick. The first 2 turns of the match, so it's not a problem that this deck is over 50 because mathematically it shrinks real quick. Then there's the leader effect, of letting you look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. This is the second auto when this card attacks. Look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Add up to 1 mono red Saiyan with energy cost 5 or less among them, and add it to your hand shuffle your deck. So that is helping you thin out your deck. On top of the fact that Young Invaders is helping you thin out your deck, so there's a good amount of deck thinning. And if you get a King Piccolo Jr. Unison out in play, no, not if, when you do, you start plussing through this card's effect. So, you'll be going through your deck relatively quickly. You also have a Super Saiyan God Vegeta, which also has the ability to let you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and grab a red Saiyan among them, 5 costs or less, and add it to your hand. So we have multiple ways of adding red Saiyans from our deck to our hand. All the battle cards in the deck are red Saiyan, except for East Supreme Kai. So every battle card in this deck is searchable to the leader effect, as well as through Vegeta to the next levels effect. So that's nice synergy there. Then we have the Awaken when you or your opponent's life is 4 or less. You may draw a card and switch one of your energies to active mode. Add cards from your life to your hand until you have 5 life. Then flip this card over. Permanent reduce the combo cost of all red Saiyan cards with 5k power in your hand by 1. So it turns Vegeta the Young Invader into a 0 cost 5k once the leaders awaken. But typically, you might not have this in your hand. Typically, this will more likely be played through the effect of Young Invaders. Obviously, when in your opening hand, when you mulligan, you always want to throw the Young Invaders back into the deck, obviously. Auto, when this card attacks, draw a card. So once you're awakened, you start drawing on top of the Piccolo Unison, so you get a lot of hand advantage. And then second auto, once per turn, when the power of one of your opponent's battle cards, or one of your opponent's cards in general, is decreased, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 10k power for the turn. Typically, you'll try to reduce the power of your opponent's battle cards in the first place, which will trigger this to make them lose 10k more. So, with some of the cards' effects, like the field card Young Invaders, has an active main where you pay 1 red, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and then lose 5k power. And then with the leader's ability, 10k more, so that's 15k for just 1 energy. The fact that we have Vegeta Exploiting Weakness, able to minus 20k to all your opponent's battle cards, will also trigger the leader's ability, so you can once per turn, do 10k to one of your opponent's battle cards. So you can take down one of your opponent's, 30k battle cards, for example, take it down with this effect while weakening the rest of their board. So there's synergy with those two cards. Then, of course, we got Vegeta, the Young Invader himself. He has a second auto once per turn when one of your cards is attacked. Choose that card and it gets minus 5k power for the turn. So if you attack one of your opponent's battle cards, this will trigger, causing that battle card to lose 5k. The leader will make it lose 5k more, or you'll choose to make it do do 10k more, so that's 15k, making the battle card weaker. So it should be easier to KO that battle card by battle. And a good card to use this power reduction with is Virtuous Strength Gohan, because of his ability to attack battle cards in active mode as well as during your turn. If you KO'd one of your opponent's battle cards, inflict 1 damage to your opponent. So we can now only get rid of a battle card we don't want our opponent to have. We also deal damage in the process. So there's synergy that way. Another thing we have that's really good, really fun synergy is the leader's auto right to do minus 10k to one of your opponent's battle cards is to combine it with Jiren, Legend of Universe 11 auto. When your opponent plays a battle card or unison card, you may choose that card and it gets minus 10k power for the turn. If you do, negates the skill for that turn. So once per turn, you can minus 10k to a battle card your opponent just played. And then your leader's ability, auto, you can do once per turn and minus 10k to a battle card. So you can split it up where you use this effect on a unison, minus the unison 10k, and then minus a battle card 10k, so that way you reduce the attack power of 2 cards on your opponent's battlefield. So you can split it that way, or your opponent plays a battle card, you do 10k from Jiren, and then 10k from the leader, which is 20k. So either one of 2 things happens. You KO the battle card, if your opponent's playing anything 20k or less, right? As well as you have the ability to just weaken stuff. And this is a good, little strategy right here, doing 10k with Jiren, 10k with the leader. It's good against Dark Broly deck, because, they got 30k beaters they could play for cheap. So if you can get the leader awakened and get this unison online, you can drastically reduce the power of your opponent's battle cards. So this could either just be a good floodgate KO of 20k or less battle card whenever your opponent tries to play something, just KO it for 20, minusing 20k to it, or you can at least just weaken it so that way you can have a better chance of dealing with it on the following turn, right? Because of course on your turn you'll use Young Invader's active main ability to reduce 5k from that battle card, use the leader's minus 10k ability, and then try to through an attack KO that battle card. So there's that. Another thing you can end up doing is obviously it depends on the situation, but let's say you get the leader's auto, right? So you auto minus one of your opponent's battle cards, the 10k, and then the leader another 10k, but then they attack, then you can use your active battle ability minus 3k, right? Minus 3 markers, and then do its minus 25k. So you could do minus 45k from towards one battle card. In case your opponent has like a 40k or 45k battle card, they're trying to KO, try to attack you with like a finish or something. Like if they have a baby Hachiyak or something, trying to do some Cell Zeno type shit, then this will be helpful in that situation where they play Cell Zeno, minus 10k, leader, minus another 10k, so now Cell Zeno is a 20, and if they attack with Cell Zeno, activate your minus 3 and KO it. But that's if they're attacking a leader. If they're attacking the unison, well, or at least they're not attacking you, right? But if they're attacking the unison, that is a way they can avoid the minus 3 ability, but it's something to keep in, to consider. Even if they attack the sorry, even if they attack the unison, the fact that you will be doing the +1 ability to give it, give your Jiren plus +1 marker, this is going to stick on the field longer, which is what makes it such a really good card to synergize with the leader, because, you know, 20k double strike is always good, right, to apply pressure, and it definitely helps you get rid of your opponent's unisons if they have one you gotta get rid of, among other things. And then, of course, just the fact to be able to do 2 damage instead of 1 per swing is always good. And then the defensive capabilities of its autos plus its active battle ability, which is always good. So, enough of that. So we got the Vegeta chain, or we got the Young Invader, which we played through a through the Young Invader field card. So that way, once the Vegeta hits our opponent's side of the field, it'll burn them, and then we'll use that Vegeta that's on our opponent's side to, use this next level Vegeta's active main to remove it from the battle area to play this for 1 energy. So that way, the following turn, our field card Young Invader can play another Vegeta, the Young Invader, because the 1-drop does have unique. So does the 3-drop. The 1-drop has unique, and you definitely want to get rid of it, so that way you can keep playing extra copies, because you want to at least play 2 Vegeta Young Invaders, because that right there will just be 2 damage. Using the Supreme Kai with 1 of your attacks, and that'd be 4 damage. So that way you can at least get your opponent down to 4, at least in the first 2 turns, and then go from there. And then go from there, proceed to get your opponent down to 1 life and burn them through a Nappa play, or get them down to 2 and burn them with 2 Nappas. Or a Nappa and Lord Slug combo. Or at least put them in a position where it'd be hard for them to do anything. And then your attacks can just go right through, free of charge, right? So we got the Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta at full power. Has Deflect, Double Strike. It's nice that it has an effect that you can definitely take advantage of. So you definitely want it to have Deflect. So they built this one, this card, right? Because they gave it Deflect. It's 25k Double Strike. Has Evolve. It has the EX Evolve. Pay 3 red. Draw a card. Play this on top of a red Vegeta BR with an energy cost of 3. So this is a target for it. And then as a permanent, this card cannot be played from any area with non-evolved skills. So you could hard cast him, of course, but you can't play him through a skill that isn't evolved. So he has his own evolved skill, of course. So you can get him out as soon as turn 3. Is Deflect, Double Strike, of course, right? And first auto, if this card in rest mode, when one of your opponent's battle cards is played or attacks, you may choose that card, and it gets minus 10k power for the turn. So it's a lot like the Jiren Unison. So this will do minus 10k, then combine it with the leader, another minus 10k. So that right there is 20k, so that normally kills most battle cards. But if your opponent just so happens to have a 30k, then that means their battle card is 10k, which won't be that much of a threat since your leader is a 15k leader. But if they do attack, since that auto is not once per turn, if they do attack, you'll minus another 10k, so that's 30k altogether. And, GG to that 30k battle card. So this is definitely something you want to get out as soon as possible, right? Especially if you want to keep your Piccolo Junior Unison in play. So you play this like turn 2 and then try to get this bad boy out on turn 3. Just turn 1 you should be able to play this Vegeta, then turn 2 play Piccolo Junior, then turn 3 drop this Vegeta and get to the point where you can awaken. More so because your opponent's at 4 life or less, right? And then you can awaken and then start taking advantage of the leader's auto along with Vegeta full power, and just go from there. Plus you have the auto ability of King Piccolo, so whenever your opponent does play a counter skill, they're just you can start KOing their battle card 15k or less. Of course you can use this effect to try to get rid of Vegeta the Young Invader, so that way the field card can do its thing. That's if you're in that situation. So it's a lot of floodgating, a lot of abilities that can be used on your opponent's turn. A lot of control, so that's nice that this has control elements as well as it still being a burn aggro deck, mono red deck. So there's that. Second auto, when this card is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, not battle, but by skill, place one card from your opponent's life into the drop area. So it has a built-in burn, so it having deflect is awesome, so you don't have to worry about guys stealing trunks, but or any counterplay. But you know, your opponent can still charismatic villain Frieza it, but it'll be a bad idea because they'll just lose a life doing so. But at least they can prevent this from being on the field, which obviously will be a problem if they let this stay on the field for too long, right? Because this boy good. Now imagine having this plus the leader effect, right? Plus the Jiren, OMGs, all the pop, 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 pop you'll be able to do. So yeah, I love the synergy of that stuff. Then we got of course Vegeta, 19k crit, unique auto. When this card is played, look at the top 5, up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, and add up to 1 red same card with energy cost 5 or less, or a red unison with a specified cost of 1 among them and add it to your hand. We have no specified 1 red unison in the deck, so you're just mainly using this to search out your unisons, like your exploiting weakness Vegeta, which is always a good card to search out. You can use his effect to grab another copy of himself if you want. You could of course get the full power for Vegeta so that we can go up the chain and evolve into this and start setting your board up to start controlling your opponent's board. But definitely we're going to be using that as well as the leader's ability to help us get Nappa. Preferably you want 2 copies because you want to at least try twice, right? Twice to take your opponent's life down to 0, right? Because if you get your opponent down to 2 life, then you'll need 2 Nappas. But if you get your opponent down to 1 life, you'll need 1 Nappa. Or something along those lines. Or at least set it up where once you get your opponent down to 4 life, drop the Nappa, burn your opponent for 1, then swing, and try to do another damage. And then the next turn, play another Nappa, burn your opponent for 1, swing, try to finish your opponent off, right? So that kind of scenario. Always got to make sure you keep your defenses up, so that way you can, fulfill this deck's win con, which is, finishing your opponent off through Nappa burn, right? So where are we at? So that's the Vegeta's where you mentioned this Vegeta. When your opponent has 5 or more life, you burn your opponent for 1. Once you play this on your opponent's side field through a Young Invader's field card, has unique. So you want to make sure you get rid of this from your opponent's side of field so you can play another copy the following turn. And then it has the once per turn ability to whatever you attack to lose minus 5k power for the battle. So there's that. Of course, something you can do is use the Young Invaders field card, active main ability, pay 1 red energy to choose one of your opponent's battle cards and minus 5k power for the turn, right? So you can use this to KO the Vegeta to guarantee they don't have it on their turn, so that way you could play an invader. So it already, does what you need it to do. It already makes sure that your opponent won't have the invader for when you want to play another copy. So, gotta love that synergy. But of course, you can use this as an evolve target for your SS God Vegeta. So, that. Then we got Exploding Weakness, Vegeta, Counterplay. Permanent, if your leader card is red, reduce the cost of the card by 2 in your hand. So it's a 3 cost on your opponent's turn. Auto, when you play this card, choose all of your opponent's battle cards in it, and they get negative 20k power for the duration of the turn. And if it's your opponent's turn, choose up to one of your leader cards, and it gets plus 5k power for the duration of the turn. So You get a 5k boost. So if you're on your awakened side, for example, you'll be 20k, which further protects you. This dropping all your opponent's battle cards minus 20k, plus your leader's ability to further add minus 10k even more is just going to give you that nice blanket ability to essentially survive a turn by drastically weakening your opponent's board. But of course, you have the potential to just flat out wipe out your opponent's board. So definitely want to be in a scenario where your opponent taps out, and then you're like, all right, cool, he tapped out, he played something, bang, drop this counterplay, nuke their board, and prepare to invade, prepare to take over, conquer on the following turn, right? So I love that synergy. Then we got Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, Concentrated Destruction, Deflect, Auto. When you play this card from your hand, choose all of your opponent's battle cards with 20k power or less and KO them. Active main, pay 2 red. If your leader card is red, which it is, you discard this card from your hand, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignore and bury it, and it gets minus 25k power for the turn. So this is a good way of, weakening something drastically by 25k, and then you combine it with the leader's ability, you can do an extra 10k. So something that's 35k or less, you can weaken it, or something that's 40k, you can weaken it down to at least a 5k. It should, obviously make it way easier to KO the battle card in that situation. Also useful using that to drastically weaken the battle card, so that way you can use your Virtuous Strength Gohan to KO it with an attack and burn your opponent in that situation. Then we already mentioned Nappa. He has crit, which is really nice, but mainly we focus on his auto. When you play this card from your hand, choose up to one card in your opponent's life and place it into the drop area. So you'll crit your opponent for 1 life when you play this, which is always nice. You don't want to add cards to your opponent's hands. Of course, Virtuous Strength Gohan has the permanent. If your leader card is red, this card can attack battle cards in active mode, which comes in handy in certain situations. Then we got the auto during your turn. When this card KOs a battle card, deal damage to your opponent, obviously. Hidden Power Supreme Kai. You combo it for 1 energy, 10k boost, and give the card you're attacking with double strike. That's optional. Testing that position, counter attack. If your leader card is mono red, negate the attack. Then play 1 Cyberman token with 5, and it has 5k power, 0 cost, 5k combo, and it gains blocker for the turn. Permanent. If you have 5 or less life, you can activate this card's counter skill by adding a card from your life to your hand and playing this card for free. And this effect is not 1 per turn, so if you can afford it, keep taking life, keep playing multiple copies. So you can stop up to 2 attacks per copy. So I love that. A lot of decks are going wide, regardless of what color they are. Most commonly, if you're going up against a red deck, it's going to go wide. So you need the ability to stop when they want to attack. More players are starting to catch on to playing more battle cards or more cards that have dual attack, because they're trying to make sure they get an attack to go through when they make a play. So having the ability to stop multiple attacks, even if it's from just 1 battle card or from 1 card, comes in handy. So, single negate or single attack negates is not enough anymore. Now we need floodgate negates. We need multiple stopping, power. So we need to be able to stop multiple attacks. So that's where this comes in. Violent Raise. Counter attack. If your leader card is red, negate the attack. You may choose 1 card from your hand, discard it. If you do, choose one of these abilities. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards 20k power or more for the turn, or your opponent can't attack with unisons with 20k power or more. And we normally use the battle card part of this card's effect. Piccolo Jr. Auto, when your opponent activates a counter skill, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with 15k power or less and KO it. So that's always good. And of course, you can try to get this to work more often, where you can use the young leader's ability to minus something by 5k, right, for the duration turn. The leader will minus that card by another 10k, or you can choose to another 10k, so that way it'd be 15k less, especially if it's a battle card that's 30k, you could drop it down to 15k, and then anytime your opponent plays a counter skill, like a counter attack, for example, you can trigger this auto and get rid of that battle card in that situation. So, so this obviously has good synergy with the power drain capabilities of the deck, because anytime you make one of your opponent's battle cards 15k or less through your leader's ability, or through anything else you're playing, or through, let's say, your Vegeta exploiting weakness or something, anytime your opponent plays a counter, whether it be your turn or their turn, you can start using this to KO. And this effect is not once per turn, so the more counter attacks your opponent plays, or counter plays they play in a turn, the more you can do this effect. So definitely take advantage of that. This should work against the testing the opposition cards, or the free negates that create the blocker tokens. Because once they play the negate, play the negate, negates and attacks makes a token, and then after that, this auto will trigger, which will let you get rid of the token after the fact. It has the +1 ability to let you draw a card, and of course by having a +1 ability, it gives it staying power, so it'll stick on the field for a while. So, and it just adds more draw power to the deck, which is always good, because you want to get to all your key cards, and you just want to keep your hand nice and thick. Then it has a secondary ability, -2 ability. Choose up to one of your red battle cards with energy cost 3 or less. Choose all your opponent's battle cards with power less than or equal to that card and KO them and gain Rejuvenate. So obviously this is another board wipe. So we got 3 board wipes. We got Piccolo Jr., we got Kaioken Goku, and Vegeta Exploding Weakness as our main board wipes. But of course, with our other cards that we use for power draining purposes, those are other cards we use to control opponent's board. So we'll be trying to make sure that our opponent's board is very, very low. So that adds to our defensive capabilities, doing this stuff. Keep our opponent's cards low, board control. And then we got Lord Slug, Giant Force. Critical, 15k. Active main, +1 ability. Choose one card from your hand, discard it. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and it gets -10k power for turn. So of course, this combined with the leader's ability can -20k from a battle card. And if you combine it with the Young Invaders, you could do 25k from a battle card, so that's a thing. Then we got and of course you could combine the part that ignores barrier, along with Kaioken Goku, to do -35k to a battle card. So, since they both ignore barrier, you can combine them in order to KO something that might be very problematic. So there's synergy there. And then as the -4 ability, your leader card is red. When your opponent activates it, counter skill, deal 1 damage to them. So the opposite of Piccolo Jr., which KOs battle cards for a counter skill, this burns your opponent for a counter skill. So if they play a counter attack to try to negate an attack, they'll just end up burning themselves. So we'll definitely take advantage of that. Typically you want to pay 4 to play this, or play this for cheap, and then do the +1 ability to start adding markers to it. And it has crit, so you can take advantage of that, so that way your opponent's not benefiting from any attack this does. Throw in some Easter Pain Kai and double strike crit them. So that's always good. Mentioned Jaren earlier, all his abilities, double strike, ignoring barriers, 25k capability, as well as his auto, and the Young Invader. We only use um, two abilities of this card, which is the auto, which lets us play a Young Invader from our deck to our opponent's field at the start of their turn, start of your opponent's turn, and then the active main, second active main, which lets us once per turn pay 1 red, choose one of our opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 5k power for the turn. So that's the main things we do there. But it does have a another active main, which is once per turn, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, then play up to 1 red same card with 5k power from your deck in rest mode with its skills negated for the game, then shuffle your deck. So if for some reason you need to put one of these Vegeta, the Young Invaders, onto your side of the field, you have a way to essentially do it for free. Because you add up to 1 life, you don't have to add a life. It's up to 1. So you could add no life and still play out a little Vegeta to your side of Vegeta, Young Invader to your side of the field. If you just so happen to need another body for whatever reason to use it for. Or and for whatever reason you want it for, right? Should be no reason to play it on your side field, but do what you want. It is a Vegeta BI. Let's see. The only reason you'll play it on your side of the field is if for some reason your opponent got rid of the Vegeta Young Invader from their side of the field before it got to your turn, and then now on your turn you'll trigger this, bring out the Vegeta, then use it to evolve into the 3-drop, then use the 3-drop as an evolved target for 5-drop. So that's like the only time you'll want to use that. If you feel you need to make that chain, go up the Vegeta chain, that's the only real time you'll want to use that. But on average, your opponent more likely will still have this on their side of the field, especially if they want to prevent you from playing another one of these from your field card to the side of the field. They'll try to keep it, and they'll take advantage of, like, oh, I'm gonna evolve using this. Like, you're sick. Still evolve regardless. And field card, which one does, and that's the end of the